as he said, condensing 50 years is kind of tough. Now I've forgotten everything I had prepared, so you took my line. I was going to say, my name's Howard Speegle of DIVA Automations. Okay, now I got it. Now I got it.
Diva. You're not a diva, but...
Well, DIVA was chosen because it didn't mean anything. It was short, easy to spell, easy to remember. And I later looked it up on the internet to see if I was getting recognition and found out DIVA is the name of a militant lesbian organization. So, okay. Live with it. It still has worked. We founded that in '92, I think. So quite a few products around the world with the DIVA name on them. I started in '58. My first assignment out of school was to calculate Shepard's reentry trajectory. So when he went out of the atmosphere and came back, if you hit the atmosphere too shallow, you go to the sun. If you hit it too steep, you go to the center of the earth, or try to. And there's a very, very little tiny difference between this and that. And they had a team of 20-something good mathematicians and me trying to calculate this. And I'm thinking, I'm not qualified to do this. So for 2 or 3 months, I sat there nodding off and submitting things into the biggest computer in the world that we had, an IBM 709. This is more powerful. And it would run overnight and crank out the answers. So, okay. Finally, I got tired of that. And I said, hey, if what we're trying to do is minimize this term, why don't we set it to 0 and solve it backwards? They said, will that work? I said, I don't know. You're the mathematicians. I'm the guy with a degree in math that's not a mathematician. It worked. I quit. And my boss said, why are you quitting? I said, I want to go where I can learn something. If I come in here less qualified than everybody else in the room, and I can do something you can't do, why am I here? So I left. So the so-called space race was really a political myth. The Explorer 2 was on my desk 2 years before they allowed us to put it up. They were waiting for the Russians so that the American public would support the space program. So as soon as they gave us the opportunity to launch, Von Braun told them we could put it up in 90 days. 89 days later, it was in orbit after we got permission. So it's been fun. And I wound up working 15 years in military electronics and going through the ladder in corporate America, which is, I found was not what I wanted to do. I couldn't find anybody I was willing to work for after some years. They all had their agendas. And I found that the agenda of most middle management in corporate America is personal. I want to succeed regardless of what it does to the company. And that's the game that's played, and I didn't want to play that game. So I took my severance pay and set out to make my own company, and I decided I could make it probably 6 months if I worked real hard and didn't eat much. Well, that was 30 years ago. So, but you can't start most companies like that, just as an off-the-cuff, doing it because you can't stand to do anything else. You have to have better planning. The reason I could make it, what I did was I chose to develop custom electronics, electronic controls for different companies. So I would get a customer before I spent a penny.
Right.
Big, big difference.
Oh, yeah.
If I'd had the idea for this, spent all the money and the time to develop it and went out looking for customers, the difference in the cash flow, the difference in the chance for success is enormous. So first you find the customer, then you satisfy that customer, and then you do it again. And if you're lucky, there are other people like that customer who want the same thing. Then you can start turning the crank on the manufacturing, which is dead simple. I have a virtual company. You're looking at it. So if I want something built, I can send an order by email to Ireland. I can have the boards made. I send an order to Texas for the parts. I send an order to Illinois to have them put together and assembled. I get them back, test them, ship them to Germany. So a multinational virtual company. Nobody but me. And it works. Now, adding one person would double the payroll. That's not a trivial thing. You know, how could I ask somebody to leave a secure job maybe? If they don't have a secure job, why do I want them? So finding those who are qualified to work and are available to work and to be able to plan ahead far enough to guarantee them a minimum amount of income for the time. These are the hard things in an entrepreneur. You can't predict the future. You can have the greatest product in the world and somebody comes out with a better one next week. That's it. Microsoft has wildly succeeded by looking to see who is doing good things and putting that capability into Windows, and they're out of the way. You don't even remember the names of those companies 10 years later. They're gone. So they had the greatest idea in the world, but so what? So what it takes is being in the right place at the right time. That's an overworked expression, but that's what it comes down to. Here's the other thing. It's all about appearance. It's all about appearance. God has never seen me before in a suit.
Nope.
And of course, it's not a suit. It's a suit coat with slacks. There are people you would call on to look at you and go, oh, he's not wearing a suit. And it detracts from the attention they're paying to the message you're trying to put across. If you don't come out looking exactly like who they think should be calling on them, if you're not showing them exactly what they think they're looking for, nothing else matters. It doesn't penetrate. It's bounced off. Let me pass this around. Just take a look. That board was developed in response to a plane crash, which coincidentally killed the guy who was responsible for the IBM PC. This was a crash near the Dallas airport in I forget what year, but as the plane was approaching the runway, there was a wind shear, they call it, where this air was going down and this air was going up, and it caused a flip, turned the plane upside down, killed everybody on board. Something like that, yeah. This company, and well, going back to before the company, the University of Tübingen in Germany, a couple of professors thought they knew a way to be able to visualize wind shear. If you took something like sonar and you had an array of transducers, and they wound up putting 8 by 8, so there's 64 transducers that can go ping. So if you could control those so that they don't all ping at the same time, if they did, the beam would be this way. But if you ping this one first, then that one later, it's like you have moved the antenna. This is called a phased array. And then if you use the same transducer to sense an echo, and you also control the timing very accurately, then it's the same as if you're sweeping. And today they're doing this with ultrasonic surgery in the skull. So that board that you're seeing there can do this. That's the heart of their system that sells for maybe $100,000. I'll sell them the board for $500. But when they look at it to evaluate how well it will perform, all they're seeing is the manufacturing. They don't know anything about the software. You can't see software. You can't see electronics. You can't see noise. You can't see any of these things. It's all about appearance. Everything is about appearance. And this is the thing I've had to learn the hard way. And you just have to cater to human nature. So, a lot of other things I could, well, let me say a couple of things. One is you have to be a little bit crazy to want to have your own company, and I'm overqualified. And the other is, according to the philosopher Howling Wolf, his daddy told his mama, let that boy boogie. It hit him and it got to come out. If you really, really want to have your own company, if you really want to take responsibility for your future, it's a good thing to do. If you want somebody else to guarantee you an income, don't go there.
No such thing as job security.
No.
You're absolutely right.
No. And along that line, I had an uncle who worked at Lincoln Mills, and they were badly treated. They really were. And they decided they needed a union. The company said, if you form a union, we will close this plant and never open it again. So they formed the union, and they closed the plant, and he sat there 37 years waiting for them to come back and reopen that plant. They didn't. So you have to face realities and understand the dynamics of business, understand why big companies don't innovate. They don't take chances. They don't risk. They pay others to risk. During a lot of my career, I consulted to the big companies because they will pay a consultant 2 or 3 or 4 times as much as they pay their own employees to do the same thing. But when it has a risk, if the consultant gets it wrong, he's out. If their own employees do it, the manager takes the blame. His career's over. So I have consulted to companies that had a room full of Southeast Asian engineers with engineering degrees, good grades, intelligent people, willing to work, had no actual experience. So they hired 50 people like me, paid us 2 or 3 times as much, brought us in, had us do the work, told the Asian guys, you sit here and stay out of the way. And then when we finished, we went away, and then they let them come in to take care of it. So this is the way things work at that level. And so anyhow, I had several other points, but I think I've used my 10 minutes. So maybe questions now, and we can work them in from there.
No, that's good. Go back to, you're actually